everyone, it's Sarah here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Sims 4 speed build. So today we are going to be building a base game only house in the world of Willow Creek, which is of course one of the base game worlds. And we're building a little bit of a farmhouse style house, which you guys of course have already seen from the thumbnail, but I was going to say modern farmhouse, but I feel like it's somewhere in between a modern farmhouse and just a regular looking farmhouse because it's not really either one, but you guys can let me know what you think. But I do hope you guys enjoy this with the new pack coming out this week. I just didn't really know what to build, and I saw this on Pinterest and I thought I would give it a whirl because the original inspiration house is stunning. And I don't know how well it translated into the game, but hopefully you guys will still enjoy this build. But I will go on and put the picture that inspired this build up on the screen where you guys can see it as well and kind of see what I was going for. I ended up just working on the front of the house for the first part of this build. It took me a minute to get the front of the house done, and then I just kind of filled in the back since you can't really see the back from the picture. But when I first got done working on the front of the house, I really liked it and I was very happy with it. And then I got done with the back of the house and I came back to the front before I went into the interior. And then I just didn't really like the front as much anymore because right now I'm working on this little garage area. And in the inspiration picture, the garage area is kind of framed in white. And I really like the detail in the actual house. I think it's beautiful, but for some reason I wasn't in love with how it was looking in the game. And also this little area right here, which is the front entrance. Actually, I think it's the only entrance to this house, but this little area has a little bit of white trim as well. So what I ended up doing was before I got into the interior, and I did this all off camera, but I ended up changing all of this stuff to more of a wood tone. And then I kind of looked at it again later and I ended up changing it again. And this little area that is by the entrance of the house, it stays with a wood tone the way I changed it, which I ended up just using a some kind of debug fence post to do that because this is base game, so I didn't have a very good column to use for that. So I ended up using a fence post, and then I used the base game shelf called the Immaculate to kind of try to make the little detail up at the top corners. I don't know what you would call that, but I used a little shelf, of course, with the tool mod to make that. So I was able to just change the color swatch on the shelf, so that made that really easy, but that area changed, but then I ended up changing the garage area back to white just because I really couldn't make up my mind on which one looked better. So that one gets changed back to white. I feel like it needed the contrast, but I'm still a little bit unsure about how it turned out. But I love the little garage area. It's the first one that I've ever done kind of like that, to where it's sunk into the house a little bit instead of just being like flat on the house. And it made the interior a little bit difficult, if I'm being honest. So in the inside of the house, there isn't actually a garage. So I didn't make a little garage area where there was a debug car, or even like I do sometimes, I didn't make a little work area in there or anything like that. When we get into the interior, you guys will see that that room clearly has never been a garage in its life. And so basically what I ended up doing in there was I just made it a little bit of a kind of hobby skill building room. I heard someone say that the other day. I always call them hobby rooms. And then I heard somebody refer to them as skill building rooms. And I thought that makes so much more sense than what I've been saying. But that's what I ended up doing for that little area. And it's very weirdly shapen, so you guys will see it when we get in there, but it's kind of a weird shaped room. And then those little arms, the little bump outs around the garage, were just kind of weird areas to fill in. So I do kind of like the way the area turned out. Like I said, I've never done a garage like that before, but on the interior, it's a little bit weirder. But then for the front of the garage area, I did want it to look like a driveway, and I had used some terrain manipulation for this house. And so I ended up just using a roof to make that area. And I had a little bit of trouble with it throughout the build, so you'll see it as sometimes it's just not there and then I go back to it. But I ended up just using one of the little half roofs, and got it slanted up to where it looks like you could just drive into the garage, which isn't actually there. But that's where I put my little debug car to make it look a little bit more realistic. And if you guys do want to get this house off the gallery, I will tell you that the roof section that I did use to make that driveway looking thing going up into the garage, if you want to delete it and just use the terrain paint or anything like that, feel free. As always, if you guys get this off the gallery, feel free to just do whatever you'd like with it. but I'm not very good at terrain paint or terrain manipulation really, and so I decided to do this, but it will delete if you're changing certain things around the garage area inside the house, if you're changing walls or even paint. I feel like even the wallpaper was making the roof delete. But if you want to get around that, all you have to do is just drag the roof back off the house a couple tiles and then make the changes you want to make, and then you can put it back up against the house and it's totally fine. But for some reason, it's one of those things that it does try to delete it when you're making changes, and deletion protection actually doesn't apparently work on roofs, or mine wasn't working this particular day because I did try to use deletion protection, which of course, if you guys don't know, it is a part of the Better Build By mod by Twisted Mexi. And you can turn it on if you're having trouble with objects deleting randomly like they do sometimes when we're using move objects in the tool mod and stuff like that. But anyway, now that we've moved on to the landscaping, I will go on and talk about that for a little bit, because the landscaping of this house has probably turned out to be my favorite landscaping that I've ever done, which is kind of surprising because usually base game only houses are not my favorite houses in any particular way. And I just love the landscaping on this house, so I hope you guys like it as well. Of course, you guys can see that we've already lined the driveway up, which basically just had to do that anyway to cover up that roof siding to make it look a little bit more natural and not like a roof. And so that is basically the only reason I did that. But then I wanted to do something similar to the inspiration picture, so I ended up doing this kind of tiered landscaping on the other side of the house. And I've never really done anything like that, and I love the way it turned out. So hopefully you guys do like it as well, but I think this is the best landscaping job that I have ever done in all of my builds. So I'm so proud of it. And I just used a bunch of different flowers. I ended up using white. I used 2 different white flowers, and I didn't mix in a bunch of color because I feel like the house is quite plain, and so I didn't want to throw in a bunch of different colors. But of course, like I mentioned, if you guys want to get this off the gallery, feel free to change it however you like. But yeah, I was really proud of the tiered landscaping. I feel like it looks really good, and I was pretty happy with the way that turned out. So that's pretty much the front of the house done. And I'll go on and talk a little bit about the fact that this is base game only. So I did want to do that. I'm not sure why. Every now and then I do this to myself. The last time I did a base game only house, it was a request. And this time it was not. I just chose to do this to myself, so I have no idea why. And the thing is, I really like the ideal of base game only houses. I like the ideal of doing them for you guys and sharing them with you guys and everything like that. But when I actually get to building them, they're just very difficult for me. And it's funny because back before I had any packs, and I still don't have all the packs, but I used to build with only base game and I was very happy with it and I had no issues whatsoever. But I think once you figure out that there's other options for decoration and stuff, it's just really difficult to go back to that. So I don't know when I'll do another base game only house, so hopefully you guys will enjoy this one because it may be a minute. I got pretty tired of this build, which is not honestly unusual for me when I'm building. But yeah, I got pretty tired by the end of it. It's a large house as well. I don't think I've told you guys this, but it's on a 40 by 30 lot, which is not that big. And I honestly don't know how I do this every time. But for me, somehow 40 by 30 lots end up taking hours and hours to get done. And the inside of this house is quite large in my opinion. It's not a mansion or anything like that, but it was a lot to decorate, and especially only using the base game, it was quite a lot. So as usual, the interior is definitely not my favorite part of this build. With it being base game only, I am not very good at doing interiors with just the base game. Honestly, not sure that interiors are my strength without just doing base game only, but I definitely think I struggle a little bit more decorating the interior of houses, and that's something that I do want to get better at. But with this one in particular, there was just so much space to fill up, and I also didn't have really a clear ideal of who I was building this for. I don't really have a family in mind. Before the end of the build, pretty much the only thing that I had kind of decided was that one of the adults living in the house would be a secret agent. And that's really just because I had so many bedroom options that I had to turn one of them into an office, and then I decided to use that wallpaper that we get from, maybe we don't get it from a courier, maybe it's just like a classified wallpaper or something like that. in the base game, of course. And so I ended up using that, and that's kind of what took me down that path, that maybe one of the adult Sims living here would be a secret agent, and they have this hidden office in the house. And then I was kind of thinking as well, because in that little garage area, I put a computer and stuff like that, and I was thinking that maybe that secret agent Sim, maybe everybody actually thinks they're just a writer. You know, like they just write books and that's what they do, but in actuality, they have a hidden office and they are a secret agent. So that is pretty much the only story that I had for this house, which I think makes it a lot harder to actually build interiors when it's kind of limited like that. At least I find it a lot more difficult. So that's the only thing that I had to go on. And I'm trying to remember how many bedrooms this ended up having, because I built this last week. So I'll have to try to think about that. But I ended up just building it as well, just for multiple different life stages. But I will go on and talk about this little area right here, since it's happening and we haven't got to the interior yet. So this area is not functional at all, and it's not useful to the build. So if you guys want to delete it, feel free. But because of the new ranch pack coming out, I wanted to just do this area. It was supposed to be a ranch house in the beginning. I think it ended up being more of a farmhouse, but that was the goal originally, was for it to be a kind of base game version of this new pack we're getting. And so I wanted to do this little area where, you know, if we had horses in the base game, you know, they could go run around in that little area and hang out there. Of course, it's not functional, and even if you did have the pack, then that's not even a stable for your horses to be able to be in. And then that fence as well is from Debug, and it doesn't work like normal fences. So if you did have a horse in that area, your horse could just walk over the fence. And so it's impractical for a lot of reasons, but it made me happy for some reason the day that I was building this. So I just wanted to talk about that while it was happening, because it isn't actually functional. It's really just for decoration, and if you guys don't like it, feel free to delete it and add a pool there or whatever you want to do. I just thought it was kind of fun because of the new pack coming out, so I just wanted to do something a little decorative for that. So that's like a little horse area. I don't know what you would call it. I think I said the other day, I'm not a horse girly, so I don't know what you would actually call that area other than a horse pen, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, that's what that is. And then in the rest of the backyard, I just put a little grill area with some picnic tables, because honestly, I didn't really know what else to put out there. So the backyard is pretty simple. But now we are on to the interior. So the interior does have this kind of still white and brown black theme going on. I changed the wallpaper several times. It took me a really long time to get happy. And honestly, I'm not sure that the first wallpaper option wasn't the best one. But this is the one that I ended up going with, this lighter white kind of color. I can't remember what this wallpaper is called, but of course everything that you guys are seeing is base game. And this is the little front entranceway, and so it's pretty grand for this house. It's pretty nice, but I don't know, I struggled with the floor plan for this house a little bit. I ended up having a really long hallway behind this area, and I don't like hallways. I don't like decorating them in the game. I don't have a thing against actual just regular hallways. I just don't like decorating them in The Sims. And so I had a lot more of that kind of space than I wanted to in this build. But I struggled with the floor plan for some reason, and I really don't know why. But it was just, you know, it just was a thing. But I do really like the front entrance to the house. I think it's pretty grand. I mean, these Sims are doing pretty well, or at least it looks like that from the front of their house. And then you go to the left side of the build. This is where the kitchen, dining, and I put a very small, kind of like a living area nook situation. And I ended up adding a bigger living room on the other side of the house, but that wasn't the plan at first. So that's why there is a pretty decent sized TV and living area over here as well, because originally that just wasn't the plan. Originally this was supposed to be the living area, but I got a really good sized kitchen in this build, so it looks very much like a family house. It looks like somewhere you could come and cook with your kid Sims as well. And you know, that's actually really unusual for my builds, because usually my kitchens only have one counter that's actually functional. And so if you wanted to cook with another Sim, I don't think that works if you only have one counter space that's functional. I'm not sure about that, but I don't think it works. But this one, there's actually a lot of space for your Sims to cook and live in this kitchen. So I think the kitchen is probably my favorite room on the interior. And I really like the way it turned out. But yeah, we have a massive dining table as well. I feel like it's a pretty good sized one. I did include a high chair as well because, like I was talking about earlier, I did end up giving a bedroom basically to every life stage except for elders, and then of course like adult Sims and young adult Sims I kind of view the same way. I guess I mean more in terms of the kids. So I ended up having a nursery, a bedroom for a toddler, and a bedroom for a kid sim, although I'm just now realizing that I did not build a bedroom for a teenage sim. But I do have a guest bedroom that's actually on the first floor. All the other bedrooms are on the second floor, but I did include one bedroom on this floor, which it's very plain, so in my mind it was more of a guest bedroom, but you could change it into a room for your teenage sim if you wanted to, and then I would actually have all the life stages covered as far as the children go. But I am just now realizing that I forgot the teenager, but the bedrooms are not my favorite part of this build. You know, with it being base game, I struggle a little bit with the interior, and the bedrooms are definitely not my favorite part. I think the living areas are a little bit nicer, but then as you go throughout the build, I kind of got more and more tired of trying to use the same objects to decorate and the same wall art, and so they get a little bit worse as you go along. I think the first floor is a lot better than the second floor. Also, speaking of wall art, I haven't done this in a while, so I'm going to just mention it so that you guys know, but for this house, since it was a base game only house, and base game doesn't have a whole lot of pictures and wall art to choose from, I did end up going on the gallery and getting some of the NoCC gallery art, and I ended up getting it from a creator. I think their name was SimSationalToo. I'll put it in the description box. I'll make sure and I'll put it in the description box if you guys are interested, but there is some of that gallery art, wall art in this house, and I tried to go for a farmy, horsey theme, and I think this particular creator, their artwork doesn't flag as CC, but honestly, I'm not sure how any of that works at all, so I'm just letting you guys know that that's in there. I felt like I needed more options than the base game because I pretty much only end up using 2 or 3 base game paintings normally, and of course I was trying to use more than that this time, but there's not a whole lot of them that fit into this theme, or at least I didn't really feel like there was. So there is some NoCC gallery art, and I mean, I think it looks really nice and it adds a little bit to the house, so that's nice. At least it helps with the theme a little bit with the horses and the cows, and I think there's one really nice picture of a little bunny too. It's so cute. Also, this house ended up having 2.5 bathrooms, I believe. No, it's 3. It has 3.5 bathrooms. So it was quite a lot, but of course you guys only saw me decorating the one. I feel like that was the biggest one of all of them, and so I didn't want to include all the bathroom footage because honestly, this video was already pretty long at this point. I knew that it was going to be a pretty long one, so I didn't want to include all that. But there are plenty of bathrooms for your Sims. And I really like the one on the first floor. I think it turned out pretty nice, the one you guys saw me decorate. I was quite happy with that. And then, of course, the other two pretty much just look quite similar. They're just a little bit smaller. And then there is one in the little garage area that's just a 3-tile room. So it only has a toilet and a shower. And I forgot about the sink, but they can go right over to the kitchen and wash their hands. And that's what Johnny Zest did while I was playtesting. Or you could swap the shower out for the sink if it bothered you. If you didn't like that, you could swap that out. But that is the bathroom situation. There was 3.5, and I'm wanting to say that there's 5 bedrooms total. I'm not sure, but I feel like there's 5 bedrooms while I'm trying to count in my head while I'm talking. I feel like that's what we ended up with. And the base game nursery is not my favorite. I'm trying to think which one of these bedrooms is not my favorite out of the 3 children's bedrooms because none of them were very nice. I was so tired of this build at this point. I was so ready to be done. Also, I was supposed to be getting this build done way quicker than I ended up getting it done. So it was already late and everything. And yeah, the kids' bedrooms did not turn out that well. I want to think it was the children's bedroom that I liked the least. I feel like at first it was going to be the toddler's bedroom, which is what we're working on right now. But I feel like I kind of pulled that back in. I reined it back in. And I felt better about it because at first I had went with an orange theme and then I turned the camera and then I was going with pink. But as you guys can tell, we got that sorted out. It looks a little bit better. But this kid's bedroom is very small. I probably should have put the nursery here, honestly, and swapped those 2 out. But it's very, very small, so there's just not a lot to it. And, you know, the kids' decorations as far as base game goes, it's a little bit boring. There's not a lot to it. I mean, I like the ones that we have. We just don't have a lot of options to use. So the kids' rooms were definitely a struggle. But then on this upper floor, you do have 2 bathrooms. One of them does have a potty chair if you had a family and you had a toddler here. There are some bathtubs as well for your kids to be able to take a bath. And then we have the 3 kids' bedrooms, 1 bedroom for an adult sim, and then the office, the super secret office, which is the last bedroom that we work on. And it's hidden behind one of the bookcase doors, and it actually probably is the worst room in the house because I was so tired and I didn't feel like decorating it. But that is pretty much it for this build. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down below in the comments because I always love hearing from you guys. But thank you as always for hanging out with me today during this speed build. I hope you all are doing well, and hopefully I will talk to you guys soon with another one.